Hi, my name is Jackie Kulik, and I'm here today to talk about reference service, and particularly Roving Reference, and why I feel that it would be a great idea for the Taylor Community Library to implement Roving Reference into their current reference service. Current reference service operates at a reference desk, and it operates under the assumption that when someone has a question, they're going to come ask for help. But research has indicated that this is not always true. There are a great many library users who admit on surveys that even if they have a question, they won't ask a librarian. And there are a variety of reasons for this. People don't want to appear unintelligent, and it's difficult for people to admit they need help. Easier for some than others, but for some people it's quite challenging. And also, people might have questions of a sensitive nature on topics that they don't feel comfortable discussing at a reference desk, where it's kind of like a public arena. And finally, when a reference librarian is at their desk, they're usually looking at their computer or paperwork and they appear busy, and people feel uncomfortable interrupting someone when they're at work. So this is leaving a lot of library users without all of their informational needs being met by reference service as it stands. With this in mind, and with the research, reference service librarians have begun practicing roving reference. Roving reference is the preferred term that is used to describe a reference service in which the librarian is not stationed at the desk, but rather moving around throughout the library, being accessible and offering help to library goers. And there are a lot of benefits that come with this kind of reference service. First, you are getting in touch with those people who are hesitant to ask questions, because when you are approaching them, you are letting them know, I have the time, I am available, this is what I'm here for, as opposed to them having to approach you. And this can make all of the difference for some library goers. Another benefit is that people are perceiving the librarian as competent and helpful. And also, it provides this great opportunity for reference service librarians to showcase their skills and their expertise and to use that professional training that people might not even be aware they have. Some people don't realize how much help a reference librarian has to offer. So Roving Reference really showcases what a reference librarian can do. And finally, through these interpersonal interactions, you're building a rapport with your community, with your library goers. And this has a ripple effect, and the word gets out in the community, and it brings in more people to this library with this great service. And so it's sort of like a marketing technique. And also, when you're interacting with these people and you're showing them how knowledgeable you are, they build a trust level with you. And when they come back, they will be more comfortable seeking out your help. So there's so many benefits that can come with implementing this kind of reference service. There are a few negatives and a few concerns. The main one being the issue of privacy. When people come to the library, they're expecting to have a place where they can sit and be by themselves and do what they would like to do at their leisure. And they don't want to feel like they're in a store and the salesperson is coming up to hover and see what they need, you know. So it's kind of challenging to know with Roving Reference who would be receptive to it and who it would kind of bother. But with time and practice, you can pick up on cues and you'll learn which people to approach. And there's a lot of cues you can look for who needs help and who would be better left alone. For example, a mom with a bunch of kids in the nonfiction section, this could signal that this person needs some homework help. Or a person at the end of the shelf staring at the Dewey Decimal Chart for a few minutes might need some help locating some books. A person who's wandering through the fiction section for quite a while, maybe they could use a book recommendation or be pointed to a specific genre. So with time and practice, the confidence level will build for rovers, and they will be able to pick up on these cues, and it almost becomes second nature. Now that Roving Reference has been implemented in some libraries, there have been studies to see how people are receiving it. And the reviews are mixed. There are still those people who say they would prefer to only have help when they go and ask for it, but there are the others who favor being asked for help before they have to approach a librarian. And so these mixed reviews indicate a need for a hybrid reference service that incorporates practices of traditional reference with the new Roving Reference. With that being said, there is the added cost of adding Roving Reference service librarians to the floor, because you still need someone at the desk, and you don't want the people at the desk to get swamped and lines to be forming. So it is an additional employee or two, and so it can be challenging with budgets as difficult as they are in today's economy. Some of the considerations for Roving Reference would be when to do it, and the best practice would be at peak hours. Libraries usually know when these hours are that they're the busiest, and this is the time to have rovers on the floor, getting in touch with the people and reaching out to them. It's the best opportunity to meet the most people and help the most people. Another question is how? How do you approach them? You want to be welcoming and inviting without being kind of invasive. And so it's practice, training. And over time, librarians can discuss with each other their technique and what works and what doesn't. And it's really a learning process as you go. And where do you rove? You can rove in the stacks, you can rove at the computers, pretty much throughout the entire library. There are people who are going to need help, and when you're there to meet their help when they need it on the spot, they're really receptive to that and they appreciate that kind of service. The biggest challenge actually that has come with Roving Reference has been getting the staff on board. There are some people who love interacting with the people, and this is why they got into this profession, and for them, roving is actually kind of providing and fulfilling a part of their job that might have been missing a little bit before all of this interaction. But there are staff that are not comfortable with it and find it very challenging to do this kind of service. And so in the beginning stages, you might want to see who is eager to do this in your staff, and those would be the people that you would start with the Roving Reference. And then you can keep the people who are less comfortable at the desk. And so management has the ability to determine which staff would be suited for roving and which maybe would not. But over time, everyone should get comfortable with the practice of roving, because it is going to be the reference service of the future in this wireless library community that's evolving. So although people are uncomfortable, their confidence will build with training and practice. The next question that comes to mind with Roving Reference is, how is it possible for someone who is out wandering around to provide the same kind of service that someone at a desk can provide? At the desk, they have the computer, they have all the resources right there at their fingertips. Someone who's roving, how can they help in the same manner? And the missing link for Roving Reference, the instrumental tool, is the iPad or any tablet computer. The iPad is a tablet computer that has a large clear screen. It's very portable and it has great Wi-Fi connectivity. There are so many apps that can be found that are useful for library service. And the greatest thing about having the iPad when you're roving is that now you can access the library catalog and the databases and the internet. And so you have all your resources right there with you. And this provides an opportunity to give the great service while you're moving about throughout the library. And also, iPads have this great ability of connecting with teenagers and kids. It's been cited in studies as the cool factor. Kids are coming up and saying, "Oh, what's that?" And that's cool. And this is also opening up a dialogue. And it's a great way for librarians to get in touch with this younger community through technology, kind of on their level when we have these iPads in tow. There are a few issues, of course, with the iPad and any mobile device. You can lose connectivity, and it takes a while to learn how to navigate and search on these different kind of screens and touch screens. So it's a learning process as well. And the best thing to do is just to have the staff practice and play and use their iPads and get comfortable with them. The more time they spend on them, the more their speed will improve for searching and navigating and doing the kind of research that they do on the iPad. There was one example, the Boise Public Library where they began experimenting with Roving Reference. And they spent $3,300, and this covered the cost of 4 iPads and a variety of accessories for the iPads. They had permanent hand grips affixed to the backs of the iPads. They got barcode scanners, full-size wireless keyboard docks, smart covers, and shoulder bag holders. Because even though they're very small, when you carry them around for a few hours at a time, it does become a little bit awkward and burdensome. And so these accessories are there to make it more manageable and more comfortable for the librarian. And the Boise Public Library had a great response to these iPads. And in fact, after their pilot test with the youth services, the iPads were purchased for other departments in the library as well. So Roving Reference is really a great way for reference service to take a step into the future of libraries. Getting closer to the community, getting in touch with people, interacting. This is library service of the future. There's a quote by Terry Hughes. He says, "We must be able to share that knowledge not just at our desks, but throughout the entire library." And of course, this is going to be challenging for some librarians. This is not the kind of library service that they're used to providing, but this is the library service of the future. And the sooner that the Taylor Community Library begins implementing Roving Reference, the sooner that they will build their confidence with it and their skills at it and be prepared for that kind of library service that is going to be prominent everywhere. And so I hope that you will consider doing this for your reference service. The benefits are so many compared to the negatives. And there are the costs, but there are grants available. There's a lot of ways to bring in money for this type of service. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions at this time?